So you go into the system, you're in the juvenile system. What was your transition into adult? So I'm seeing, because we teach this stuff, we talk about rites of passage and stuff like that. But here it is, you're a child in a juvenile system that's really treating you as an adult, abusing you, and now they want you to transition to an adult facility. Talk a little bit about that.
Right before I went and turned 17, I met a lady named Miss Collins. She was a librarian. And she came to me and she said, the way you're acting in this place, fighting and carrying on, you're going to die in here.
Wow.
Meet me in my office tomorrow. And I said, who are you talking to? Because everybody considered me a monster in there because I'm going to prison for murder.
Right.
When I met her in her office the next day, she said, sit down. I don't know why I sat down. I sat down because the authority this little bitty woman pushed on me. And she's white.
Right.
And she says, you're going to get your GED and you're going to go to college. I said, why do you care about me when everybody called me a monster? She said, because God does not give me the right not to love you.
Wow.
This is a person don't know me.
That's deep.
This ain't my mama. See, your mama and daddy supposed to love you because you're their child.
Right.
Here's a woman, because of her faith, says, I want better for you.
Wow.
Now, this woman was like my mama. I got my GED. I started going to college, but I turned 17 too fast.
Wow.
And you have to own yourself to say yes or no for yourself. And right when I beginning to owning myself, beginning to know who I am, I was turned 17, I was sent to prison. And then what people don't want to talk about in prison is, I went to Alto, one of the worst prisons in the state of Georgia at that time. You're only going to be a predator or prey, point blank. I was not going to be nobody's prey. So yes, I was going to be the predator.
Wow.
I'm going to harm you. I'm going to stab you. I'm going to steal from you. To survive in that place, you have to die as a human being.
Wow.
You have to really. That's why a lot of brothers come home and they don't know how to be human, because you can't be human in that place and survive. Which means you can't care anymore. You can see somebody stabbed and just walk past them. Don't have no feelings. You can't. Feelings will get you killed. So you desensitize, you lower your senses, you die to your senses. Right now you see somebody harm, you look at the news, somebody killed, you have an emotion to that, even if you don't know the person.
Right.
But in there, no. You can be stabbed right now, and I'll go eat soup. Then care less as long as it wasn't me.
Wow.
That's with one of my partners we running with, yes, we gonna get you back.
Right.
But other than that, I can have feelings. Feelings get you in trouble.
So you graduated into a prison that was a young prison for violent offenders, and everybody in there was violent. So now that system wasn't doing nothing but teaching you what had already been told to you that you want. So, Hakeem, how did you shift? Where did the shift come in at? Because I know a shift had to come in.
A shift came. It didn't come in Alto.
Wow.
It didn't come for several years.
Wow.
Because there was something they was doing that nobody wants to talk about in Alto.
Wow.
They would paint the dorms different color. Red. You know what red does?
Right.
Blue. Black. And they ran tests. I was put in intensive management unit. That was the unit where they let us out 30 minutes a day.
Wow.
And they would test. They had people come and taking our saliva, chewing gum to take, and they said they were testing our adrenaline glands. That's illegal. We would chew the chewing gum, and we didn't know. Chew the chewing gum and spit it in a cup, and they took our samples, and they tagged it, put it in bags, and it made us sign the consent and gave us candy to do that.
Wow. So they running an experiment on you, because now it makes a little bit more sense, because it seemed like we was in an era with a super predator.
Yes.
You was a black and brown kid.
Yes.
They felt like you could do anything crazy. You had these minimum mandatory laws being pushed, and here it is, you in a prison, and they running samples on you to try to really, prove their point?
We don't, to this day, I don't know what they did with our DNA.
Wow.
I don't know. And brothers that have been in there with me, I guess they don't realize that we don't know what that DNA was done. Or we didn't know that they were studying. We didn't know they were studying us. All we wanted was the candy.
So you don't know if they was getting it to see if you did other crimes, or?
I don't know.
Wow.
Down the line, all I remember telling is they're taking out adrenaline. That's the only word I remember at that time. Chew the chewing gum, that's saliva. Spit it in his vial, and they caulked it, tagged it, named it, put it away. And these wasn't prisoners. These wasn't guards doing this. These people had on white coats. And they left the facility with us candy, and everybody was nice to us that day. Then was right back to being locked back down again.
Wow. Wow. So talk about the shift. So it didn't happen there. So when you left, where did you go and you start seeing it? Because you experienced some things in the system that I definitely need you to talk about, because it seemed like, man, you was on a pretty rough journey with these institutions. So talk a little bit more about that.
Alto became so bad because there were no such things as PREA laws, and PREA laws protect you from sexual predators and stuff like that.
Right.
You told the officer you were about to be raped, they'll tell you should stay home. You should stay at home. Get back in the dormitory.
Wow.
So, because there weren't no laws signed into play at that time about if people want to hurt you or harm you. They didn't care. And a lot of officers at that time in Alto, they couldn't even write.
Wow.
Some of them couldn't even read.
Wow.
And most of them were family members.
Wow.
So we opened up Hayes. They sent us to Hayes State Prison. There wasn't really no fences separating the dormitories, because we were so bad at that time. We ended up going to Hayes, and I'm still lost, man. I ain't gonna lie. I'm still lost. My mother, at that time, I still lied to my mother. I had told her I didn't do the crime. I was still lying to her. It's years I'm still lying to her. Years I'm still lying to her. Some years went down the line, and I started studying Islam, and the brother who taught me Islam was, he taught me a terroristic way. He taught me it, right?
Right.
To kill all Christians, but I wanted a sense of power, but didn't know how to get it. I wanted to be strong, but didn't know what that meant. I wanted to be known, but didn't know how to be at that time.
Right.
I got a letter from Miss Collins, the lady from Juvenile. My mother brought it to me. And she told me she was dying of cancer. And I've heard that you've lost your way. Find your way back home.
Wow.
Find your way back home.
So this was a staff person sent your mother a letter for you.
Yes.
And said you had lost your way. So talk about that, man. How did that make you feel?
I looked at her like my mom. And I went back to the dorm, and I looked in the mirror, and I was afraid of the person that was looking back at me.
Wow.
Because it wasn't me. That person that looked at me in the mirror was the same person that had sent my own little brother to prison. Because when he would come see me, or when he would talk to me on the phone, I would say, man, we balling in prison. Man, we smoking weed, we gambling. I made prison seem like it was a rite of passage.
Wow.
So what did he do? He shot somebody.
Wow.
So what happened to him? He goes to prison for 20 years.
Wow.
Because I come from a line, my brother went to prison. I looked up to him, I went to prison. My little brother looked up to me. Instead of me saying, being strong, I was a coward. And I told him, we balling. We balling up in this prison, bro. We can handle this. So he shot somebody. So he's in prison.
Wow.
That's his rite of passage. So I'm looking at the person in the mirror who just sent my baby brother to prison.
Wow.
And I didn't, and it all hit me right then. That if I don't change right now, if I don't kill the person that's looking at me right now, now I use those words. If I don't destroy the person that's looking back at me right now, for it will destroy me.
If you like this content, please like and subscribe.